If you are just starting out in photography and want to know how to land your first clients, then this video might just be for you. These are a few tips that I wish somebody had told me when I was starting out. And the other day I posted something on my Instagram that said, should you niche? And somebody reached out to me and he was wanting to branch out and wanted to know how does he branch out. So where I live, it's quite a small market. There isn't much opportunity to be very, very niche. While some people are wedding photographers, they may also shoot sort of family lifestyle. So you shoot the engagement session, you shoot the wedding, then you do maybe the maternity shoot, the newborn shoots, family shoots. So while you might be niched as a wedding photographer, there is a little bit of a expansion, a little bit of a group, a little bit more opportunity for you to not only make money, and you have more of a lifetime value of that specific client as opposed to having one-off clients. While we're not specifically talking about wedding photography, I think that was a good example. In the commercial space, which is where I'm sure most of you all are, which is where I am. So for me, I don't only do commercial photography, I also shoot headshots, corporate headshots, actor headshots, pretty much anyone who needs a good headshot for a LinkedIn profile picture, CV, CV application, maybe about page, website, company profile, email footer. And that's quite a low-hanging fruit in the sense that it's not a difficult photo in terms of photography skill to master, and it is something that you could sort of build a portfolio up pretty quickly. Whether you take self-portraits, pictures of your friends, your family, you could quite quickly build a portfolio up around that. And while that doesn't have to be your main income, it could be absolutely a sort of maybe little bread and butter side hustle that can supplement you while you are still trying to build in the niche that you would like to build in. And that brings me to the next topic, which is portfolio. So the main thing is obviously having a strong portfolio in the area that you would like to shoot. So for example, if you are predominantly shooting weddings, but you want to be a sports photographer shooting for brands like Nike and Reebok and Adidas, and you have none of that in your portfolio, it's going to be very, very difficult to get hired unless you maybe are friendly with, I don't know, the creative director of one of these brands, and they're like, hey, you shot our wedding and we'd love you to shoot for us. The reality is that is very unlikely, and I think for the most part, I'm not sure if that's ever happened, maybe. But what you would have to do is go out, do some homework around the brands that you like, see what they are putting out, what kind of shoots they're doing in terms of composition, location, styling, and sort of look at your portfolio and say, well, do I have anything like this? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, do you have enough self-awareness to say, this is comparable? Like I could take one of my shoots and put it side by side and go like, absolutely, this is on the same level. And if it is, great, that's amazing. If it's not, then sort of say, well, where's my shoot different? How can I improve what I'm doing in order to make my content look more in line with what those brands are putting out? And there is a very, very good book. I think I put a link in the description by Austin Kleon. It is called Steal Like an Artist. And effectively, it is, in the beginning, we all copy because that is how you learn. You know, when we are babies, we learn by trying to emulate the sounds that our parents are saying, and we just copy and we copy and we copy. And eventually, through that process of copying, you stop copying and it becomes ingrained. And then you start creating from your own sort of interpretation of all these different things that you have copied from, and that will sort of define your taste. What I will say around taste is that it is something that can be learned and trained. So what you should be doing is looking at good content. And that may not necessarily mean that, I know I used the Nike example, like you don't only have to consume Nike content. You could consume something that is equally as beautiful. Maybe it's a luxury car shoot that you really like, and you could say, well, what are the elements? What lens did they shoot it on? What was the location? And then could I apply that in a similar aesthetic to what one of these big brands are doing? So building your portfolio is absolutely vital, and then only show the things that you want to be hired for. So for example, if you want to shoot for Puma, then start creating content that you think would be relevant to Puma, and don't create or don't show work that would be completely unrelated. So if you are doing headshots, do that on a separate page, do that on a separate account. I don't see any problem with niching. I know a lot of people are like niche, niche, niche. I'm like, absolutely, that's great if you are in a big market. If you're in a smaller market, or if you are multi-talented, not even necessarily talented, if you are multi-dimensional, you have a lot of interests. I'm not saying you need to have hundreds of interests. I think that's going to be way too much, but I can classify myself as a commercial portrait and fashion photographer because all of those things have similar elements, one of them being people. So most of the things that I like to photograph have people in them. And then is there any crossover between those things? Absolutely. I mean, if I'm photographing a guy in a suit for a headshot, while he may not be a model, while he may not be wearing the best stuff that is the most fashionable, I can take what I know from my fashion background and apply that and help him pose, help him guide him in terms of the styling. Well, you know, your collar shouldn't be flared out, let's have it tucked in. So those type of things are all very complementary to the style of work that I do. And what you will find is that there will be a consistent theme through your work in terms of the way you light, the way you like to light, and ultimately, I think building a portfolio around those things is what is going to get you work. So just to recap that point, because I think I rambled a little bit, ultimately it's doing the homework, sort of look at the brands that you would like to work for. And then, you know, obviously within that group, I mean, let's say we talk about fashion. And you say, well, I would love to shoot fashion, but you're not necessarily in a market like Paris, London, Milan, or New York, where you have the top tier fashion brands. Maybe in a smaller market. So that doesn't mean that you can't shoot fashion. It just means that you maybe have to sort of be realistic to say, well, I'm not going to shoot for those brands. Could I shoot content that looks like that? Absolutely. Is that going to get me hired? Maybe. What is more than likely going to happen is to say, well, what brands are around me? What work are they putting out? What are they producing? And could I possibly work with these brands? And if you're just starting out, what I think is brilliant, like once you've gotten enough practice, and whether it's, could you reach out to a model on Instagram, or maybe even some modeling agencies that you could sort of say, well, I'm just starting out, this is my concept, I'd like to shoot this type of work, this is my mood board, do you have anyone that's available? Do you have any models that are in development that, you know, that also need on-camera experience? And you do a test shoot together, and maybe it's great, maybe it's not, and then you just keep building on that. Once you get to the point where you feel like this is actually good enough to sell, what I would do is go to smaller brands, smaller Instagram accounts, and sort of reach out to them directly and say, I'd love to do a free shoot for you. You give me the stuff, and let me create something for you, and you can use it like for whatever you want. And I'm sure a lot of smaller brands would love to have photo and video content for free, because I think who doesn't like stuff for free? And if it's not good, they haven't lost anything. Obviously, you can't damage the clothing. Maybe they want to be on set with you to sort of manage that type of thing. But invariably, what would happen is that you would build a relationship with that brand, because you could walk in the door, say, hey, I'm a photographer. This is what I've shot. These are the things that I've done. Would you be open to doing some form of collaboration with me? And that way you would start to not only build your portfolio, but build your relationship. Because while there is a difference for shooting for free and getting asked to shoot for free, those are two different things. So if somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, we love what you're doing, you know, would you be open to collaborating and we'll tell all our friends and family? Like, no, that's a hard no, because unless they're offering something very valuable to you, then there is no real point. There's no real value, because you're not going to get anything out of it. This difference is that you are providing value to them by giving them content, and you are getting value because you are then now shooting for a brand, and then you can say, look, I've shot for this brand. So that is a way to build out your portfolio. Just to sort of recap, you need a strong portfolio. It needs to be around the subjects, the niches that you would like to sort of go down that road. So if you're interested in landscapes and you love hiking, could it be that you shoot for brands like North Face, Patagonia, you know, you sort of look at their content and you start incorporating that type of stuff into just your daily hikes. Maybe you go out with friends and now you say, okay, cool, we build a story around that, because brands want to see that you can tell a cohesive story. Ultimately, when it comes down to people spending money, they want to know that you are going to be the guy to be able to execute this thing. And it's not like, well, you know, we're going to take on chance on Justin. Like, I mean, I think he looks like a cool guy. I think he could do the work. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that somebody's putting money behind you and you need to be able to deliver. So if you can show that already, to say, hey, look, these are the things that I've done. These are the brands that I've shot for. Through these collaborations, it's going to be an easier sell. And ultimately, what I would do if I was starting out, I would, once I've built my portfolio, and I think if you don't know exactly what it is that you want to shoot, I would try a whole bunch of things. Think of it as like a buffet. Like at the buffet, you could choose everything. You don't just have to have one dish. You could have like a little taste of everything and then go, you know what, this was great. This is what I'm going to have. And then that's kind of, or these are the two things that I really like. And so that's the way you should look at it. It's like right in the beginning, don't worry so much about the niche, but worry more about like what it is that you like. And then go photograph that thing and then say, oh, well, maybe I'd like to put a car in front of that or a bike in front of that. Or maybe I really like sneakers. And, you know, you start to sort of build the things that you like into your portfolio. And then over the course of a few months and a few years, you will start to sort of gravitate into the direction, because you might start off and go, oh, I love fashion, but actually I really like beauty because, you know, I like portraits, and that's maybe something that you didn't know when you started out. So I don't think it needs to be so hard and fast in terms of going, well, you know, I watched the video and they said I have to niche down, and so that's what I'm going to do. So I don't think that's true at all. I mean, again, it is very different. If you're in a big market that has lots and lots of people, it is easier to niche because the market for that niche is much bigger. If you're in a smaller market like I am, it's a little bit trickier. So to summarize, once again, build a portfolio, reach out to smaller brands, use that as leverage to then reach out to bigger brands, build those relationships with the clients, whether it be a makeup artist, build those relationships with clients. Also build your team out, because this isn't something that you can do alone. At some point you're going to need an assistant. Maybe it's a lighting assistant just to bounce some light back. Maybe it's a digital assistant to manage the assets. You would maybe need a wardrobe stylist, a makeup artist. And this is something I would sort of think about doing from your first shoot, if it is something with a model and a brand. Or for example, I mean, often what we do is, if I have a concept that I want to shoot, I'd reach out to my stylist and say, look, this is what I want to do. And either she'll go and source the clothing, meaning she'll go to the shops and physically buy. And if she has to return, you didn't hear that from me, but that is what does happen. Provided you haven't damaged anything, you haven't gone for like a 10K run and sweated in it, obviously. So that way you start building your team as you are growing at the same time. So it's going to be difficult to reach out to maybe somebody who is on a very high level in terms of hair and makeup or in terms of wardrobe styling, but there are a lot of people that are starting out, and those people need content and experience as much as you do. So working as a team, getting to know the team and getting to expand your network, because there will come a time where you need to call on someone to help you, whether it be an assistant for yourself or a wardrobe stylist, but now everyone's grown and everyone starts getting busy, and now it's a bit tricky because you're like, oh, well, I only worked with these 2 people and now those people on jobs. So now I got to go back to my client and say, look, we can't shoot on that date because I don't have anyone. That's not really very professional. So being able to have a sort of very deep pool of reliable, good team members who will help and elevate your work is just as important. And I think through that process of building your portfolio, working with teams, reaching out to small brands, doing the free shoots that are valuable to you as well as to the brands, will start getting you work. I had experience where one of my friends, he works for a company, so that's already an in, but he asked me, hey, like, what do you think of the photographer? Like, I really like the way that he shoots. And, they wanted something, they're a sports brand, but they wanted something with a little bit more of a story element, a little bit more of a fashion feel. And so, like, I never really thought anything of it. And then a few days later, I phoned him and I said, hey, listen, have you found someone? Did you get hold of the guy? Like, did you manage to book him? And he's like, oh, no, that never really transpired. And I was like, look, if you still need someone, I'll shoot it for free. And he was like, yeah, absolutely, we'd love to have you on board. So that's maybe just fortuitous that I was in that situation. But after that shoot, they were like, we really love what you did. We have another shoot coming up, and obviously we'll pay you for that. So, there is huge value in giving value. Maybe we shouldn't say shoot for free, but go and see if you can add value to someone. Like, if you want to shoot for a brand, don't expect them to come knocking on your door. You can go knock on their door, but then it's like, what are you offering? So that's pretty much it for my ramble. I'm going to try and make more of these videos where I just sort of give advice around the things that are happening for me, just to be able to post more regularly without having sort of over-engineered videos. So if you did enjoy this video, please do the things. Thumbs up, like, comment, share, all of that good stuff, because it motivates me when you put the videos. So I really, really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video.